Welcome back to the Edwards Report. My name's Kalen. If you guys have been waiting for the cost of living to go down, we're going to be waiting a little bit longer because in 2025, the cost of living in the United States has never been higher than it is right now. Rents are rising, house prices are rising, energy costs are rising. So hold your wallets. Let's get into it.
First, a single mother of three, ages 1, 4, and 8, trying to make ends meet on a teacher's salary of $37,000.
Teachers are making $37,000? What?
Sweet, we're ready to rock. My name is Michelle Bourgeois. I am 37 years old. I am a teacher in St. Louis County, Minnesota. Since the price of eggs, bacon has gone up, we've done a lot more cereal. Eat it with your spoon. You gotta stay safe in the car, right? I've had to take on a second job just because everything has gotten so expensive. Hi, baby girl. I've been a teacher since about 2008. I love my brown shoes.
Okay, so it looks like she's a daycare teacher. So I could see why the income would be as low as it is. It's also interesting because we just made a video about food stamps and welfare yesterday, and we were getting on people that were misusing them, and we were talking about them getting unhealthy foods. Well, in this case, the reason she's feeding her kids cereal, which is, pretty unhealthy, is because it's not perishable. So she can't get the fresh foods that she actually wants because she simply can't afford them. It makes sense.
I love my brown shoes. It's definitely not something that people go into for the money. They go into it because they love it, which is why so many of us do have to work 2 jobs to make ends meet. But it takes multiple incomes to survive in this economy. I just left work and now I am gonna go door dashing for a couple hours. It looks like our first delivery. We have to go to Burger King. Thank you. So this first one is $4.50 guaranteed, and then sometimes we get tips. I always grew up thinking about the stereotypical American dream where you own a house and you have a yard to play in, and I think that dream is dying.
Oh, she's not wrong. It's definitely dead. When I think about the American dream, I think about a white picket fence, maybe 1-2-story home with some land, maybe a pool, couple of kids playing, neighborhood kids playing outside. Nope. If you compare what a lot of us think in our head the American dream is, or at least what it used to be purported to be, and you can contrast that with the reality, you see how dystopian it's all starting to get. I mean, you look at people like Mandami in New York and the push and the rise towards socialism that a lot of younger Americans are advocating for. And it's because people are struggling and they need some help. Now, I think that is a terrible solution to the problem, but these are also real problems that we start to see in late stage capitalism.
I try to make every dollar count. A lot of the time, I'll just wait to feed myself until the end and then just eat whatever leftovers the kids haven't touched. Put your cute little bib on. A lot of the people making the decisions for us are wealthy, don't know what it's like to work 2 jobs, don't know what it's like to have to pay for gas with quarters, and yet they're making the decisions for us. If they knew a little bit about the average person who is fighting every day to make ends meet, I think that maybe they would make decisions that were actually helpful for the average person. Good night, sister. Come here.
Holy cow. I just got back from Target. I'm in my car in the parking lot, just decompressing about all the money I spent and the little bit of bags that I have. $180 for some bananas, peanut butter, frozen waffles, creamer, milk, just basic things that should not cost this much. And I am really good at price hunting, finding the best deals, clipping coupons. But I didn't have time today. It was just let's run in and grab some things really quick that we need. And yeah, $180 later, I am hurting for what I bought and what I got. It's just outrageous. I think I'm in denial a lot of times about just how high prices are right now in our grocery stores. And I have 2 kids and they eat a lot, and I don't want to feed them like the junk food and the quick processed stuff, but even that has gone up, like frozen meals and stuff. It's just outrageous. I just don't know how we're surviving, but we are. I mean, we've been doing it, and we will get through it. But I guess when I stay in my little like isolation hub at home, and then I just pick what I want online, I'm not actually going into the grocery store and seeing all the prices of everything. It's not so overwhelming. So yeah, maybe I learned a lesson, like don't go shopping in the store. Just got to stay with my Instacart and I'll just live in denial forever.
I have $691 in my bank account and over $1,000 of bills due coming soon. Not to mention, when I get paid June 25th, I will have rent due, but I will already be negative. I know I'm not the only one that goes through stuff like this all the time, but let's go ahead and calculate what I could pay off this upcoming week while still having money for food. I think what I can do with $691 is pay a phone bill it's $80, so we're gonna subtract 80. I have a speedy cash loan, those cash advance loans that we take out, due this following Monday. It's $300. If I do that,
And we know those have super high, almost 30% plus interest rates.
that leaves me with a total of $311. So as of right now, I think that's all I'm gonna worry about paying right now. Wait. I'm gonna send $100 to my credit cards. So actually, I will have $211, and I think that's enough for food for next week, and then I'll survive and figure out the rest later.
It is impossible to save right now. This is coming from somebody who's a really good saver. The fact that I have done less this year and yet I still have nothing to save is wild to me. I don't go out to eat, I don't get drinks. This is the least I've ever traveled. Shopping sprees are very far and few between. Also, I'm spending less money on rent, and yet every single one of my paychecks is going towards some sort of bill, an adult related thing I don't want to pay for, like insurance, my car repair, maintenance on my HVAC. I feel like the list is endless. Long story short, everything costs too much. There's so many hidden fees, so unless you ask for an itemized report of what exactly you've been charged for, you're probably paying more than you're actually supposed to.
I did this the other day at the dentist. Dentist started asking me all these questions. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to use this accounting background I have. I said, give me a itemized list of how much this stuff costs. You want x-rays? I don't need no x-rays. You want this? I don't need that. You want some fluoride? I don't need no fluoride. I might. Let me see how much it costs. Tell me why they printed out the itemized prices for everything. And I said, oh no, y'all trying to just run it up. But I wanted to see how much it actually costs. So for my family of 4 to go for a cleaning, it'll be like $900. What? For what? Nobody has cavities. Nobody's getting fillings. What? $900? Now I do live in an area that is very, very high cost of living. But $900 is crazy.
Companies want to pay you less, the cost of living is rising. As an example, the way that I used to make $3,000 a month when I graduated college, and yet I was still able to save about $1,000 a month, I can't do that anymore. Ways that I could stretch $100 when I was in college does not go far now. Honestly, if you can, move home with your parents. Pick up a side job. It's only gonna get worse before it gets better. What really enrages me is when the economy is up, the prices go up, and then they never come down. And even when the economy is not doing good, those prices never come down. And guess who suffers? All of us.
There's a reason every headline sounds like it's the end of the world. Just like there's a reason Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. Getting injured is bad enough, but trying to deal with insurance companies afterward, that's when things get a little overwhelming. They'll lowball you, drown you in paperwork, and drag out the process until you're tempted to just give up. That's why Morgan & Morgan exists. They've been fighting for the people for over 35 years. Not for corporations, not for big insurance, but for people just like you. We're talking real results. In Florida, one client was offered $350,000. Morgan & Morgan fought and won $12 million. In Pennsylvania, another client was offered $650,000 and walked away with $26 million. Morgan & Morgan isn't your old school law firm with over 1,000 attorneys and 100 offices nationwide. They're bold, modern, and if you end up working with them, they'll fight for you to get the compensation that you deserve. And starting a claim, it couldn't be easier. You can do it right now from your phone or your computer in just 10 minutes. No appointments, no hassle. You can click the link in the description or you can scan the QR code on the screen. So if you're ever injured in an accident, you can check out Morgan & Morgan. Their fee is free unless they win. Justice isn't automatic. You have to fight for it, but you don't have to fight alone.
My name is Anthony Bartolini. I'm a police officer in Waterbury, Connecticut. I'm 29 years old. I've been a police officer about a year. Let's go. But every day is a struggle for me too. If I still have to worry about my next paycheck, where my next meal is coming from, I'm just like anybody else out there. Good morning, it's Officer Bartolini. I'm patrolling streets because you want to make sure that if you see something, you can do something about it. Dispatch 1. So I've been looking at houses pretty much every day. I wanted to buy one for a few years. To put 20% down on a house, that's a lot of money. Even I can't do it, working double shifts. In today's economy, even if I got a second job, I wouldn't be able to afford it.
How was your day?
Good. My wife Sarah and I were waiting for our daughter to get off the bus. We'll eat something
So he does have kids and he's married.
real fast, then we'll go look at a couple homes.
Oh, there's a bone in here?
There is, yes.
There's a bone, yep. We've been having trouble finding the right home because the bigger the house you want, the more expensive it gets. And we need the room for the family, the dogs. They need a yard to run around in.
Turn right on George Street.
I like the neighborhood. Seems quiet. There she is.
Hello, come on in. We have 3 bedrooms on this level, 2 full baths.
It's a very nice house.
What price point are we looking at?
Probably around 300 to 325.
There has been a low supply, but there's still a demand. It's a very competitive market. So it checked all the boxes, but too bad somebody put an offer in before we got here.
Oh, if it falls through, we'll come back and revisit it.
A $300,000 house is well below the national average. If you're telling me that it's hard for them to afford that price of a home on a policeman's salary, we are beyond cooked. And I'm looking like this is a young man, you know, like this is very relatable. I just turned 28. This guy's 29. It looks like his daughter is probably around 10, 11. So unless, you know, his wife came into the marriage with the child, they had this child at a very young age, young 20s, maybe late teens. And he did the responsible thing of staying, getting a respectable career, working, saving money. And they finally are able to look. And they're finding out they need 20%. And it's just hard to save that.
I love you.
You do get defeated knowing that homes are so expensive after looking today. I hope people in power, they change the price of things. There has to be a way to make everything go cheaper. There's no way they can just keep going up and up and up because then people won't be able to live. It's just so expensive. No one will be able to afford anything.
And let's start with something that's a little shocking probably to some of you, that the average U.S. household debt just hit a record $152,000. That's what it takes to maintain what we call normal life here in America. And for housing alone, the median rent is $1,637 nationally. But here's what it looks like when it's actually broken down. Studio apartments, $1,400. 1-bedroom apartments are almost $1,600. And 2-bedroom apartments, yeah, that's going to run you about $1,900 in 2025. The good news is that rents have actually fallen for 24 consecutive months. The bad news, they're still about 17.4% higher than before the pandemic. Meanwhile, home values are averaging at about $368,000, and most experts predict that prices could actually decline by the end of 2025. But here's where it starts to get really real. to live comfortably. We're talking not quite the American dream, but to be comfortable, to not have to worry about meals, to be able to get a drink with your friends or the girls whenever you want to. Well, get ready. In California, you need almost $120,000 a year. In New York, about $115,000. And then shout out to Texas. You need $70,000 a year. And for all of you guys who aren't in any one of those states, the national average, the amount of money that you need is $66,000 per year for a comfortable lifestyle. And that means you're actually making about $5,500 or less per month. You're not actually living comfortable at all. You're just surviving. Research shows that actually only 40% of Americans earn enough for what experts call a minimal quality of life. People aren't broke because they're lazy. They're broke because we built a system where survival costs more than most people can actually earn. But here's the question that I think should actually keep you awake at night. If 60% of Americans can't afford basic living costs, are we witnessing the collapse of the middle class, or have we already crossed that line? That's something I've been thinking about lately. I want to know what your thoughts are in the comment section below.
Here, kitty, 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 kitty.
My name is Olivia Marino Carlson. I'm 70 years old. I live in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I cannot afford to retire. I live off of Social Security, which does not pay all my bills. That's why I'm looking for work. My husband was a mechanic. He developed MS. I took care of him until he passed away. I was working retail, lifting boxes. It was very hard. I'm going to the library to use the internet to look for work. I did not think that being 70 would be like this. I'm asking if there's any positions or work positions available here.
We don't have anything open right now, but keep an eye on it.
I put in an application here at Walgreens. I haven't heard back, so I'm going to check to see what's going on.
I kind of wonder how much age discrimination goes into this. You know, the Trump administration, especially in dealing with the illegal immigration crisis that we cover so much on this channel, has proposed that, you know, some of these people who are waiting for their retirement to kick in work in the fields. And, you know, it sounds good on paper, but I'm looking at this 70-year-old woman, and I mean, she looks really good for 70, but she's not moving around like she used to. So the idea of someone like her working in the fields, because those are jobs that illegals are stealing from Americans, that Americans would want to work, especially the elderly who can't find work, clearly because of age discrimination and other reasons. I don't know. I get it. You know, illegal immigration is a problem, but I also don't think that we're going to be seeing 70-year-olds working in the hot sun, toiling, picking cotton and grapes and doing all those things. I don't think that we're going to see that. So it looks like we got ourselves a real problem here, which is, what is a senior to do who is getting Social Security, who qualifies for Medicaid, but still needs to earn some money in order to get by? You know, I see a lot of elderly people who will act as crossing guards for elementary schools, or maybe they'll be working at the checkout counters at the grocery store. And I really respect them. You know, they got to do what they got to do to get by. It's just for the ones that have disabilities, or they're not able to be as mobile as they used to be able to, what are their actual options? Just asking you guys, honestly.
They don't have an update on my application. The cost of food has gone up. Every time I blink, it goes up. I get better prices here.
You chose me $10.25?
This is where I have a Bible study.
We thank you so much for this evening.
There are times when I do feel like giving up, and coming to this group helps me continue on.
Good. Right.
My greatest obstacle right now is being able to support myself. It is hard for me just to survive. I wish people in power would think more with their heart. It is hard for me to accept that I'm not able to enjoy the rest of my life because I have worked hard all my life.
I challenged myself to stick to a strict $150 weekly grocery budget, including breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks. Inevitably, this question always comes up. Does this include household essentials? And no, it does not. That $150 is strictly for food. But I do need to figure out what my household essentials budget is because right now I don't have one. So I would love to know your family size and what you budget for household essentials. Things like diapers, wipes, toilet paper, paper towels, laundry detergent, soap, shampoo, all of that.
Well, I'll tell you, $150 ain't going far. I have a family of 4 as well. And you see that thing that she holding right there? That's called an Alani. That's an energy drink. Those are $3 a piece. I mean, getting enough of those for the week is like $30 itself. If you're drinking 2 a day like some people do, you're going to be dropping some money. But we spend about $300 every time we go to the grocery store, and most of that is for food. I know that sounds crazy, but we eat lots of meat, barbecue a lot. We cook most of our meals at home, almost all of them. I should just say all of them. And that's what it costs, about $300 a week at least. When you add in all the other household items,
I actually just spent, I think, $82 yesterday at Target getting paper towels, toilet paper, diapers, and some Alani. Because yes, I'm not including that in my grocery budget. That's going into my household essentials budget. But it's kind of a harder thing to budget because I don't feel like I purchased all of these things every single month.
So now I want to talk about the hidden inflation reality. Because if you look at the headline numbers under Biden, if you look at the headline numbers under Trump, they're going to politicize it. But what's really going on beneath the surface? And here's where the government statistics can get a little bit sneaky. They tell you that inflation is only 2.7%. But let me break down what's really happening with your money. Core inflation, stuff that you can't actually avoid buying, that is not 2.7%. That actually rose to 3.1%. And that's a 5-month high. Food prices rose to 2.9% year over year. But the average hides the real pain. Ground beef, if you want to have a Taco Tuesday, yeah, that went up 10.3%. So you're not having tacos. At least you're not having it with ground beef. Coffee, that Morning Joe, yeah, that surged 13.4%. And restaurant food, I don't even need to tell y'all because I know none of y'all is eating out because I'm not eating out. Nobody's eating out because restaurant food is up 4%. And as you guys know, if you've eaten at a restaurant lately, the food hasn't gotten 4% better. In fact, since COVID, it's gotten 40% worse. But you're just paying more for it. So, yay, go us. But the one bright spot, and this is what you'd hear all over conservative news, is that gasoline fell 9.5% to about $3.14 a gallon. And that's real relief at the pump. So, a couple claps for the Trump administration. But here's what's actually crushing families. Shelter costs rose by about 3.7% annually. But when your biggest expense, housing, is actually outpacing your wage growth, everything becomes unaffordable. And there's actually hidden costs in home ownership. I know this as a former realtor. I have to explain this to people all the time. The hidden home ownership costs now are about $21,000 per year on top of your mortgage. And what comprises that total number is the insurance, the maintenance costs, the repairs, and the taxes that renters just don't see. Meanwhile, and you're really going to want to buckle up for this, total household debt in America just hit $18.39 trillion nationwide. Americans are borrowing their way through life because wages cannot keep up. And producer prices, what businesses pay for goods, jumped 3.3% in July. That's the fastest they jumped in 3 years. So if you don't really understand what that means, the translation is that more price increases are going to be coming because they're going to be passing that down to you. So with all that said, here's what I want you guys to think about. When the Federal Reserve tells you that inflation is under control while your grocery bill keeps climbing and your rent eats up half your paycheck? Who's actually in control? Or a better question is, who's actually designed to benefit in this environment?
We're here in Florida on vacation. We just got back from Publix. We were like blown away by the prices at Publix. I don't know, maybe, I don't know where other people are shopping at, but we thought the prices were so high compared to where we're from. Like the prices of a Starbucks instant coffee, like a little tiny thing was $13. On my last video that I did about grocery shopping.
What? $13 for pre-made coffee? What?
Everyone said to go to Publix because it was more affordable. I don't know. I'm like, wow, we were like blown away. So we spent almost $300 for 4 or 5 days in Florida. We did get some nicer beer, obviously wine, some nice seafood to cook out tonight. But besides that, I mean, just in general, the prices were expensive. We're like, oh my gosh, how are people like feeding more than 1 or 2 kids here? I have to mention the pepper. The pepper my husband got was $4 for 1 pepper, not organic.
It's so expensive not to be rich, and I was raised very financially privileged. My mom had a good job. My dad stayed home and raised the kids. They didn't have to pay for childcare, like all of that sort of thing. But I am not as financially secure as my parents were, and so I'm living paycheck to paycheck. My payday is today, so of course I'm going through my bank account, making sure that like everything's ready for me to transfer money where it needs to go and pay the bills that I have. And I saw that there was an incorrect charge on my account, which led to an overdraft fee. And so when you don't have the money for simple mistakes like that to be happening, you're just in this endless loop of wasting your time and wasting money because you're paying for things that you didn't necessarily make a mistake on. And it just is crazy to me that rich people don't have to deal with this because they don't have to worry about if they have a minimum balance in their checking account. They don't have to worry about an overdraft fee because that's never going to happen. If a mistake happens, they'll get compensated, they'll get the refund, no sweat off their back. Maybe there is some time wasted having to like process and request a refund to be made. But when you're so tight with your time and tight with your money, anything that goes off of the plan, any deviation from it, throws a wrench in the whole entire system and ecosystem that you've created for yourself or have to deal with for yourself.
My husband and I made $150,000 last year, and we live paycheck to paycheck. Let's talk about it. I never thought that I had a problem or that I needed to learn to budget until I realized that we spent $150,000 last year and I have nothing to show for it. I mean, I have a house, I have a car, I have all those things, but they're not $150,000 worth. So where did the money go? I spent it. That's where the money went. And that was what I wanted to change. That's why I did a low buy year. That's why I'm budgeting as hardcore I am. I use 3 different spreadsheets to budget, and that might seem insane, but that's what I need to do in order to have it all managed. I need to look at my money. I need to stare at it. I need to think about it. It needs to be on the front of my mind because if I passively use it, then I'm not paying attention and I spend it all. And that's the truth.
Welcome to the cost of living. I'm going to show you what I do as a single mum to save money with my grocery shop. So I'm going to show you my pantry, and this is my pantry after a week of having the kids. I have them week on, week off, and this is what I do on my week off. So as you can see, after I've had the kids, the pantry is looking pretty bare. I have my baking goods up the top. These are all pulled to the front because I am incredibly short and I can't reach them otherwise. There is nothing behind that supply. Down here I have some flavors, sauces. I've got some onions left, some rice, some potatoes, and some general biscuits on that shelf. Now all of this is stuff left over from the kids. I'm going to do my best not to eat any of that this week. This is also their cereal, that is not for me. So none of that side of the pantry is for me. My side of the pantry, I've got some nut bars left.
Y'all think this is real? That's her side? So sis is either not eating or she's eating out. Cause what? There ain't nothing in there. I don't know if y'all see, there's nothing in there.
And some dried apricots. So that's what's over there for me. I'll take you over to the fridge. So in my fridge, I have 2 meals of a leftover satay chicken on rice and 1 yogurt. That is my fridge. So there's a few staples there, but there's really not any food left. So what I've got left is some meat in my freezer. I've got some frozen rissoles. I can't eat the fish fingers, I'm allergic, but I've got some frozen rissoles and sausages that I'll be using for my food this week. And then in the other side of the freezer, I have some the frozen veggies that I'll be putting with that. And that will make up my lunches and my dinners. So based on what I can see in the fridge and pantry, I'm estimating my grocery shop this week to be about $6.40, which is the cost of 1 more packet of some nut bars for my breakfast, and I need maybe 1 more yogurt to get me through a lunchtime. And that's all I'm going to spend on myself this week until I get my kids back on the weekend. So that's the reality of how I can save money.
The cost of living is real, but your response doesn't have to be panic. While 60% of Americans can't afford basic cost, that means that some people are thriving in this economy. The difference is some people stopped actually playing by the system's rules. They moved where housing makes sense. They built skills that create real value. They chose freedom over status. Don't just work harder in a broken system. Work smarter outside of it. Live below your means. Choose places that let you build instead of just survive. And remember, just because society calls it normal doesn't mean that you have to live by it. Thank you guys for watching this video once again. I pray the Lord blesses you, that he keeps you, that he turns his face towards you, that he lifts his countenance towards you, that he gives you favor, and that he gives you peace.